WCLN 1170 Radio and Cable Channel 16 are pleased to present We Should Know, hosted by J.W. Simmons, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative as we consider closely what we should know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on the air Tuesday afternoon at 2:30. Each and every Tuesday, we come to you from Star Communications, Channel 16, also simulcast on WCLN Radio. There's a summation in the Sampson weekly newspaper. We want to thank you for being with us today. Also, we remind you this show also airs at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, Thursday, Channel 16. That's Star Communications, Channel 16. Our guests today are two people that I've known for some time, and I'll start with Chris Sessoms, cosmetologist, Chris and Company, right here in Clinton, North Carolina. The second guest is Tony Rackley. Everybody knows the name of Tony Rackley when we think about cabinet craftsman and stuff dealing with wood. Tony's got a reputation, not only, Tony, with yourself, but with your entire family in wood building and building stuff. So the question would be, what does cosmetology and cabinet making have in common? And I'll start with Chris.
Well, first of all, Tony did my cabinet, so that's really a big connection there. But really, it's anybody in the heart of the county. When we can come together as one heart, we can pull enormous things off. So we became friends years ago. And when this project came up, I just prayed about it, and that's who God gave me. Tony,
I saw the name of the organization that you guys represent. It's called Helping Hands. And I think about what both of you do, and it's literally with your hands that you do stuff. And there's so many people out there, and there's such a big need now for people that can do things with their hands. It's almost like a godsend that this thing is kind of meshing together.
Yes. Yeah, I've been very blessed. And I thank God for the talent that He did give me. And this Helping Hands project, first and foremost, I want to thank Chris for inviting me to be a part of this. Years past, most of us that live in this county are going to be affected by first responders in this Helping Hands project of Sampson County. What it's meant to do that day and the other days is to show support for our first responders. Most of us are going to be affected by a first responder. I have a highway patrolman that's been with me 32 years, Webb Brown, and Webb is my right arm, but not only in the aspect of the job that he did for the county and for the state. My parents both took a ride on a rescue squad. Mm-hmm. I haven't yet, and I hope that I never do, but if I'm summoned or I need to be, helped by them, I know these people will be there, and it's a way of us showing a few days of support and love back to these individuals that work 7 days a week around the clock, 365 days a year.
Chris, I remember back in 2015, you kind of started this project. I don't know whether it was called Helping Hands back then, but you wanted to do something. Tell us what inspired you to get involved with wanting to recognize people that respond to emergency needs. Where did that come from? It really started one morning when I was watching TV, and an officer by the name of Darren Goforth was shot and killed when he was pumping gas one evening. And the guy came up behind him, he never said a word, and he shot him dead. The man was 47 and had 2 children. And I thought, as a wife, I'd be wanting to talk my husband out of this job if they're just doing it for no reason. And so how do I reach out and touch somebody's life? Mm-hmm. Well, it's hard for one individual to do it. So I really began to contemplate how we could do this. And so I thought, this needs to be a county-wide job. We need to thank all of our first responders, even down to the dog catcher. If you have a rabid dog in your yard, he is a first responder when he comes and picks up that animal. So it is a way to thank all of those in active duty and for us to just shake their hand and show them and their families that we love them when we do support them. Tony, I know you watch news like everybody does on TV, and you see all these kind of horrific things, and Chris just relayed a very tragic situation years ago. There's been a number since then. Is it hard for you being a businessman and you look at a lot of these people that take up that profession and that's their kind of given career? Do you hear people say, wow, I don't know why they do that? I know Webb Brown's a well-known former North Carolina Highway Patrolman here in the county. A lot of folks know Webb's name. Webb spent his entire career doing that and thank God walked out safe. But there is a danger there.
Yeah, I tell you, I also have a brother-in-law, Van Quinn, that is with the Sampson County Sheriff's Department. And just in general conversation, when we get together, you know, at his mother's or wherever, I hear the challenges that they have from just being in law enforcement or whatever, the danger. And it's more prevalent now than it's ever been, as she was saying about this gentleman that lost his life for no reason whatsoever. But also, I look at, you look at the last decade, the amount of storms that we've had here, even through the county schools that are put on notice that, you know, they're going to have a shelter. These people have to be manned, and they provide protection for people that are under a lot of stress. Their job, it has so many facets of their job. I mean, they have to be a counselor. They have to be a man that sometimes, unfortunately, goes out and arrests people, put them in jail, take them to jail, to the magistrate's office. These people there are just very challenged, and not only that, then they work, they don't get off, they work. They have shifts, of course, but I know through Webb used to work nights, he used to work days, and I used to ask him when he would come and help me, I said, Webb, how in the world do you ever, you know, how do you get settled on your sleep pattern? So there's a lot of challenges with being first responders, fire department. You know, these personnel, we take a lot for granted with these individuals. And then the trauma that they see. Can you imagine going to a wreck and pulling a 2-year-old child that is maybe, you know, on the last minute of living? I mean, I just can't imagine the emotional state that they have to, you know, have control of to be a professional.
And I guess at times, with that said, Chris, it was probably hard for them to have some kind of magic eraser and erase it from their mind. It becomes part of who they are from that time forward. So I look at your involvement in this from 2015 forward. What have you learned that you didn't know when you first started?
Several things. First of all, one of the things that touched my heart a lot was that I was in an accident and was very fortunate. My car was not hurt, but I did have a tire blowout. And when I got stopped, there was a group of gentlemen opening the back door of my car to get in it. And I was sitting in it. And when the highway patrolman came up, he never left my side and told the guys they had to leave. But it was a very scary moment. So as those things transpire, you realize that this is a lot bigger than what it should be. And throughout the 5 years, I have asked people, what would you like to see? How did you feel about it? You know, what would be your part? And so, you know, I have to say, when this transpired, I met Tammy Peterson, which is the Hub's Corn Maze, which is where our next event will be, in Walmart one day, and we were discussing this. And I told her that next time I wanted it to be different. I wanted it to be able to touch more lives. I wanted to make a bigger impression than we did first time. And so she offered her property to us for us to do the event. So our next event will be at Hub's Farm Incorporated, just because of what we're trying to pull off. But one of the comments that I got the most was, I wanted to see it, or I wanted to be a part of it. And there was just no way that we knew what to expect to do it. So this time, in planning the format, one of the goals that I set was, how do we get people to be a part of this that are in the community? How can they actually say thank you to these people or feel like they're serving back? And so that's the reason we changed the format of it.
Tony, this is the first year you've been involved, correct?
Yes.
So given what Chris just said, what sparked in you this year to step up and kind of engage and be part of it? Was it her constantly calling you? There's something happened though, because I know you well enough to know you wouldn't be engaging in this unless it was the real deal.
Well, as Chris said at the beginning of this, I worked for Chris right many years, and just knowing the person that she is, when she called me, I knew it would be of something that would be good, and this is a great project. And, you know, I lost my business in 2001 to a fire, and there were 3 fire departments that came out there. And the first one, of course, being Clinton, and then Taylor's Bridge come, and then Halls. You want to give back, and this is a way, just a small token of my time, my concern for my community, this county in general. We all should be about giving back, especially when we have received. And that night, even though my business burnt down, I saw those men working so hard trying to save my business. But, you know, to no avail, but they did their job. They did, it was just not meant to be. But I did see the care and the concern of these men. And then, of course, the outpouring from the people in this county. I can tell you, I had a tremendous amount of support emotionally and financially from this county that made my mind up that I needed to go back to the bank and borrow money again to start a business again, because technically I lost 20 years of my life that night.
That was a big transition for you.
It was a big transition. I remember my wife asking me very well a week after, when things had settled down, and she said, "What are we going to do?" And I said, we're going to start back. But it was because of the people in this county, the nature of the people in this county. They love to give, and they love to support and help.
So what I hear you saying is that this part of what we're doing here, Chris and Tony, is about community, and it's about that thing that we usually call in the country neighbors and good neighbors and that kind of thing.
That's correct.
And to be able to express that.
That is correct.
So what I'd like to do when we come back from this break is get you guys to talk a bit about where we are now, how we got to the point we are now, because there's been a lot of people that you engaged, Chris, Tony, and others, and kind of get a picture for people of where we are and what your expectations is in the next few weeks. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment. We're talking with Tony Rackley and Chris Sessoms. Call a friend, things you need to know about.
Experiencing slow internet? If you have a fast internet package, the problem is most likely your wireless router. With more devices using Wi-Fi, your wireless router may not be able to deliver the speed and coverage you need. We now have the leading solution to enhance your internet experience. Using small devices in a mesh network, these Wi-Fi appliances cover just about any size home so that all your devices can operate to their fullest potential. Whole home Wi-Fi from Star Communications. Get the most out of your internet connection.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you for being with us today. Remember, you can reach us at weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. That's weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. Continue to send us those messages, comments, suggestions about shows. Even as you always do, let us know what you think about a show we had. We enjoy hearing from you, and sometimes we promote shows that we're doing on that site as well. So we look forward to hearing from you. We're talking about emergency responders today, and we're talking with Chris Sessoms with Chris and Company, cosmetologist here in Clinton, North Carolina. In fact, right down the street. Tony Rackley. Tony, I told Chris before you came in today that I could just mention your name, people know who you were. You've been in business long enough, been engaged long enough, and people knows you as a craftsman in the cabinetry business. Notice how I put that word craftsman in there. You don't just build cabinets.
See, I think I'm that inherited.
Yeah. Well, I just say you've had challenges, right? so I think the reality is when we're talking about emergency responders, we're talking about things that people find that when it creaks at night, when it explodes and it shouldn't, when the tire blows out on your car and you're in a ditch, whatever it is, these are the folks that you can depend on. And it's become somewhat sophisticated in the sense of how they respond, how they can locate where you are. All this technology not only has it placed a demand on emergency responders as far as their qualifications to do the job hadn't changed. It's still, as Tony, you pointed out, still a very horrific job, and some of the things is probably hard to get out of their mind. And I've been fortunate to know and be involved with a lot of these folks for years, and I personally want to extend my appreciation for you and the group for doing what you're doing. So let's get into this a bit. The idea that you've got this year is to take it to another level. So You've mentioned Hub's Corn Maze, which is located on 421 North. the plan you have, the vision you have in your mind is still unfolding as we're talking here today. But something is going to happen, and give us the date and time and kind of walk us through that picture of what's going to happen, and I'll let both of you participate in that.
Okay, the event will take place on Saturday, April 25th from 5 to 9. The reason for the timing is because of shift change. Shift changes at 7, so you want the first responders to be able to attend as well as their families. In trying to make this an event that families would remember, we decided to bring in a fair. So we have 10 rides coming in as a fair, so people can go with their children and their grandchildren up to 18 as well. So we have kid rides for small kids, and we have some big rides. In fact, my most exciting one is the mechanical bull. I can't wait to see these men try and challenge each other on this mechanical bull. Another ride we have is we have a 35-foot slide coming, as well as a Ferris wheel. So we have some pretty impressive rides coming.
This is sounding like the old county fairs, Tony, that we used to have a long time ago.
Yes. Yeah.
And I kind of miss seeing those things. I remember many years ago they would come to town, and that was the only exposure you had. This was, everybody came to that.
Right.
Is that what you're trying to kind of create, that atmosphere where everybody wants to participate and come? But the 25th, that's on a Friday, correct?
That's on a Saturday.
On a Saturday. So that is just for emergency responders that day?
Yes, they have to have a ticket to get in.
Okay.
They will have to notify their captain or their chief so that we can get the ticket to them, as well as there is other tickets of things that will be available that day. Tony is in charge of the food. Bless his heart, he took that challenge on for me. So we will be serving a meal, and we are asking the churches to serve. The committee is buying the food, but we want the churches to be able to say thank you. So in order to come see it and be a part of it, you need to come along with the church and serve one item that we're serving. And then, Tony, I'll turn the rest over to you since you're kind of in charge
So, Tony,
of that.
this is not an area you're totally unfamiliar with. You've served food in the past, but I don't know whether on this scale or not.
Well, you know, being a past Civitan member, really got broke into, you know, when you have the day of the barbecue sale, what's all involved, the days before, and then, you know, when you get into the crunch time and you've got to put that food out there for the general public to have, you've got to be ready, and it's got to be there. Well, in this situation, when you say first responders in this county, a lot of people don't realize, but we're basing this on an 800 number. And then we're inviting their family members, and it's a free day for these people, basically. So that takes a tremendous amount of planning. The planning committee is doing a great job, but we've got to make sure that we've got our X and O's, we've got our T's crossed and our I's dotted. So it's really how this thing is going to function and come to pass is people with donations, the companies here, corporations. You know, if you give at least $200, you get a banner, and the banners are going to be real nice. You can display the banner, and then what we're hoping is the banners will come up there that day and be displayed up there of all people that, you know, are helping financially supporting this. But we're basing this on about 2,600 people when you say 800 responders and family members.
Wow.
And what we're going to give them to eat, we're going to have hot dogs, we're going to have a barbecue sandwich, we're going to have the condiments, we're going to have slaw, we're going to have beans, we're going to have the other things, mustard, ketchup, and those types of things. We're going to have water, and then we're going to have drinks. So it will be a real nice meal for the families and the first responders to enjoy that day.
I'm just trying to do the math in my head here at 2,600 people. We're talking heavy financial engagement.
That's correct.
And a commitment.
Yes.
We figured the cost is about $45,000 to pull this off.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge. Now, that is for that Saturday. Now, you've got something in mind. Is the day before, the day after, you were going to open it to the general public with a admission charge?
When we talked to the production company, which is the people that have the rides, The only way they would bring them is if they did it on a 2-day commitment.
Okay.
So the second day, we are opening it up to the public. It will be $10, and you will receive 5 free tickets for the rides. If additional tickets you can purchase at the event. We also will have food trucks coming, and we're inviting churches. If you want to come and sell an item that day as a fundraiser for you, please feel free to do so. It's a great youth project.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and I know, Tony, from what I can understand, Mount Vernon Church, your church, is very heavily invested into this project as well.
Yeah. The churches, the approach from the committee with the churches, they're real good at volunteering, and they're also good at baking cakes. So that's going to be a big part of it, is the churches coming through with the cakes and the desserts and so forth. So they'll have a dessert too, and the manpower. So that's a big pivotal part of it.
So I guess an obvious question at some point in time, and you're probably going to cover this anyway, but I'll toss it out there. The 25th, we have some really strange weather in this part of the state. So what happens when we have a situation and it's extremely, I don't know, let's hope and pray not, but thunder clouds come through, it's just raining, wind blowing, whatever. Is there a rain day, or is this is it and it's moving forward?
It's moving forward. We have talked with the companies, and if they come and they have not set up, they will charge us the gas money to get there.
Okay.
If we know ahead of time that we're going to have severe weather.
Yeah.
But if it rains that day, bring an umbrella.
Okay.
Because it's got to flow. We can't stop this food and stuff last minute.
Yeah. The other thing that strikes me, Tony, is you're preparing food and these kinds of things. What do you need people to not only help you with, but maybe support for you? I mean, I think the smart move is to have one person in charge of the food and just say, take care of it. But as a contact person, do you want to give out your number and say, here's some areas I'd like to have some help with?
Well, Chris initially, she sent out letters to every church in this county, and I think she told me there was over 180 some churches in this county. So most churches should have got a letter in response to this. And that's where the manpower needs to come in, is from the churches. And basically in our design of this, getting this meal in a 4-hour window with a shift change, is we know that it's going to take, we're actually setting it up to where there will be lines, 3 lines, 4 lines. Then you will go through, they will pass the plate, they will ask you this, just the food items, if you want it or not. Because, we don't want to waste food, but still, and then it will go through that line, then it will come to the end, then it's going to come to where we are at with the meat, with the barbecue and the hot dog, and then it will go from there to a condiment table.
But you'll have somebody there serving the food.
Yes, everything supposedly is going to be manned. You got to do that, because you may have a mother to show up with 3 children.
That's right.
And she's going to need help.
Yep.
Now, Tar Heel Challenge is going to help us with that, with the young men and ladies over there.
That's a good group.
We're trying to incorporate the whole county into this thing of helping hands. That's what it is, helping hands.
Well, Chris, I mean, it seems to me that there's a lot of things that you've thought through, that you've learned from 2015 to now. You've got a pretty good sized committee. What do you need on your committee now? What if a person says, well, how do I get involved? Can they call you directly?
They can call me directly.
Just call Chris and Company in Clinton, and that number is
592-1337.
1337. They can call that number and say, I don't know what their skill set may be. Probably might not have one, but if you can serve food, send them to Tony. But there's other things that should be going on as well.
Well, we will have to have 13 churches with Tony's church handling the meat to serve food. So each group will come with a tent, and they will be in their tent. They'll have their church name on it and their first responder's name, so that they are honoring the first responders in their church. After that is done, then we will put them in other functions that need to be done that day. So they just need to contact me, and we have requirements of the churches that will be coming, what they need to do, how they need to do it. Also, we're asking for either baked cake or baked pies. We would like every first responder to come with the dessert, a whole dessert.
We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and I'll follow up when we come back with that phrase baked cake and baked pies.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We're talking about some exciting things, one of which is happening April the 24th by an organization called Helping Hands. You really need to learn more about this. We'll be back in a moment.
You come out to replace a bad sensor, and that adds a 5-year commitment to my contract, and you don't tell me? Here's your sign.
Switch to the sign that's keeping homes secure and customers happy all over the area. Security from Star Communications. We pride ourselves on fair pricing and quick, friendly service every time.
Somebody trying to break into this place?
Security from Star Communications.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know's on air. I want to thank you for being with us today. We're talking about Helping Hands. We're talking about helping hands that are reaching out to help people and recognize people. Chris Sessoms, and this is Chris and Company in Clinton, and Tony Rackley. Tony Rackley, fine cabinetry here in Sampson County. And as I went to break, I said the 24th. It's the 25th.
Correct.
This event's happening, and it's happening in April, and it's happening at Hub's Corn Maze. And for people who's never heard of that, it's 421 North. And Tony, that's just beyond Rabbit Street, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, we want to make that clear. Just beyond Rabbit. It's where the old Heron School used to be, and it's just beyond that, located on the right-hand side of the road.
Correct.
It's a big area. I've heard a lot of people say they've been there for church events and this kind of thing. So we're hoping that's recognizable to folks.
Correct.
Yeah.
You were talking as we were going off to break, Chris, you were expecting or hoping folks would bring a number of cakes and pies and stuff. And I want to let you follow up on that, and then I want to segue to Tony real quick and see how that's going to work into his schedule, or whether you're going to have separate tents and so forth for that.
Okay, we're asking for a whole cake or pie.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need a container that needs to be returned. They need to be wrapped tightly.
You only do that at church.
Yes, yes. But we're hoping each responder will be able to bring home one. Last time we did that, and they were thrilled with them. So it is a way to say thank you individually for people who can't serve and come that day, but still want to do something for the event.
So am I understanding then that if somebody bakes a cake or a pie, that cake or pie could go home with Eric Herring, who's a paramedic here in the county, that whole thing could actually go home?
Absolutely.
It's kind of as a souvenir of the event.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's huge. So you're possibly looking at 2,500 cakes or pies.
Correct.
You're basically looking at 800. When you
per person.
Yeah,
per responder.
Yeah, because
family.
you're saying 800, 2,600 with family members.
Gotcha.
So technically 800 of those items be a pie or a cake. So yes, and that's pretty.
That's still tremendous at 800.
Yeah, but when you look at originally what Chris and the committee did by sending out the church letters, it should happen. We're hoping it will happen. And it's just an easy way. As I said, most people that live in this county, one time or another, have been impacted by a first responder.
Absolutely.
And it's just an easy way, a very nice way of saying a pat on the back and thank you. Here's a meal. Here's some time for you to, just enjoy today. And that's what this is all about.
Let's talk about some specifics. Okay, let's talk a bit about the emergency responders that we're talking about here. Now, Tony, you referred to firefighters. Chris, you referred to law enforcement people. Then we've got paramedics and medical response people. We've got, as we just talked about, the North Carolina Highway Patrol. We've got a number of people that maybe folks don't realize are even there, that often respond in emergency situations, and that can include the State Bureau of Investigation, Wildlife Commission. Are all of those people involved in, and do they understand, is a better question, do they understand they're involved? It's like, not only do we want you to know you're being honored, we want you to be part of being honored.
Right.
Is that what we're saying?
Well, we've tried to get the word out as much as we can. One thing we are adding this time is we're adding some of the child protection services and the adult workers.
Absolutely.
These people go out into the homes and protect adults or children in bad situations, and they need to be recognized too as a first responder. So
we don't often hear a lot about that, but that is a critical area and a sad area quite often that sometimes folks just don't want to know about, but it is an area that needs focused on.
Yes, and if you are from a group and we have not heard from you, please do call me and let me know so we can get that to you. We need a count by the 1st of April so we know exactly how many we are preparing for.
592-1337.
Correct.
And that's for folks that maybe carry a badge or they're in a specific area of what we would consider emergency response and kind of the way I look at it, controlling humanity to some degree, to call you and say, listen, have you thought about
Absolutely.
Juvenile probation officers or something? I don't know. I'm just so many out there.
Just dog catchers. Think about dog catchers.
Absolutely.
That's a dangerous job.
Yeah, well, animal control now in this county is they are sworn law enforcement people. And I know a lot of those folks, very dedicated people. So I tell folks sometimes if they call for assistance from a law enforcement officer and they see what Tony and I used to be referred to as dog catchers roll up, that's a law enforcement officer that's trained to do the job, not just to take care of an animal, but they may be there to help if somebody's breaking in your house too.
Right.
So that's an important point to point out.
I had a first-hand experience with a dog catcher. Actually, my shop dog, we called her our shop dog. And believe it or not, I live on a farm, so my dog kind of runs. And that day we heard her just really crying out, and when we stepped outside the shop, a raccoon was on her. And the raccoon was she was a small dog, the raccoon was about as big as her, so what did I have to do? I called the dog catcher, he come out and got her, we had to quarantine her, and she had to stay at one of the vet clinics here for an extended amount of time, quarantine. So see, they really have, we don't think about the danger of their job, but it's a dangerous
But it could
job.
easily turn into a medical situation for you had that animal.
I'm just glad they were there that I could call them.
Absolutely.
I'm just glad that they were there.
Chris, is part of this too, in your window of view, that we tend to sometimes, as Tony just so vividly pointed out, take people for granted.
Absolutely.
And take those folks for granted that if we dial these 3 digits on their phone and it's an emergency, that somebody shows up.
Well, and another group we're adding is the 911 operators. They are very important when you call. If someone's broken into your house, they're going to remain on that phone with you so that you have somebody to talk to until law enforcement gets there. So they are very much a group of first responders, I think, that we do overlook sometimes.
And I think that group is a perfect example because oftentimes those people can talk you through a situation no matter what it is, if it's a cardiovascular event, if it's a childbirth event, if it's a major wound event. They're trained now, unlike when I was involved back in the 70s, they're trained now to deal with that and say, okay, do a compression here, do specific things. So, we had a conversation a while back with Eric Herring, and we talked a little bit about that, and I was just kind of fascinated how much that has progressed over the years. Because, Tony, we've seen in the past how much has changed just in a matter of past 10, 15 years.
Well, if you look at like I say, the nature aspect of it, the storms, the hurricanes that we've had in the last decade here. I know the last hurricane we had, I stay on Cartertown. You take Pearson off of 421 South, that road is bad for flooding down there. And when I come in that evening, and it will rapidly flood, I called 911 and I said, DOT needs to be notified to get the road closed signs out here for somebody floats down the creek. And you see, there's so many ways that we as the eyes of this county, we need to be thinking about our fella, our people, the danger, and there's, like I say, we're all affected by first responders in so many ways. And a lot of people think that as a sheriff or a highway patrolman, but like I said, there's the dog catchers, there's 911 people. And these people, they work around the clock. Most of us choose our profession. I'm glad somebody chooses to work at night. I normally like to go to bed at night and sleep all night. Yeah. But you think about the people that's working around the clock to keep our homes safe and our roads safe.
And give up their families while they're doing that too. So your family can be safe, they're giving up their family. That's pretty strong when you think about it, Craig.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's very strong. Yeah. One of the incidents that we personally had was years ago when my brother-in-law's chicken house was caught on fire, and there was a gas tank there. And those firemen protected us from that gas tank. They made sure we were at a safe distance. They were up close putting foam on that. Their lives were very much in danger. And we need to think about the danger they really are facing every day.
It's the chivalry involved and the heroism is not something they look at, but through our eyes, you're really making people see that maybe in a way that they hadn't seen it before or hadn't thought about it before. What the size of your committee now obviously has grown tremendously.
Actually, we're 30. Last time we were 60.
Yeah.
Maybe I should say last time I learned who will get the job done.
There you go.
So it is not as large, but it is a 30 of very intelligent people that are typing letters, taking out posters, whatever they can in order to get this pulled off.
Do you need certain talent on that committee that maybe you don't have now? Are there people out there that you need, groups of people that you need to be engaged that maybe you're not getting enough response from?
I really think we are, don't you?
Yeah, I think the response is good. And like I said, this is my first time, so I'm learning also with this. But just to ask Chris a question, like, where does the funding come from? Mm-hmm. Because it does have a huge price tag, not when you look at 2,600 people, but basically we do need, for people to respond through this with their checkbook, with whatever they can. The cake. Yeah. They're spending money to bake a cake. But I know, I'll let her explain. She was telling me about how the schools, the children, they even got the children involved, and she can tell you basically how they did that by the children taking a letter.
We're going. Let's put that on when we come back from the break and go straight into that, because Tony, I think you hit a subject that's got to be covered, and that is the donation point. Somebody's got to pay for it, and at the end of the day, whether, as you said, it's baking a cake or whether it's somebody deciding I want to give you $100 to help cover some of the barbecue, or I'm sure this circus is coming to town, they have to make money too, so they've got to be paid for that. So if we can cover that when we come back from break, and then we'll kind of get into any details maybe that we've missed along the line there. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being with us today. We're talking about people that is near and dear to your heart and everybody in the county, and that's emergency responders. The folks that show up at times when it's unimaginable, at 2 o'clock in the morning, the worst storm you've ever seen, somebody breaking in your house, whatever it is, they're there. These people are recognized them. We'll be back in a moment.
To get the most out of your electronic devices, you need a strong internet connection and a protected home Wi-Fi network. You need high-speed internet from Star. Star has the fastest, most affordable high-speed internet service available for all your devices. We have no long-term contracts or high-pressure sales. Our service speaks for itself, and switching is hassle-free. We take care of everything with free installation from a local company. High-speed internet from Star. Internet at the speed of life.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on there. I'm J.W. Simmons. Glad to be with you today. Each and every week at 2:30 on Tuesday, we come to you. You may be picking us up on the radios. You're driving down the road, or if you're at home, you're hopefully not looking at TV in your car driving down the road. But if you're home, you're looking at TV. You're probably seeing us on your TV set. That's coming to you directly from Star Communications Channel 16. The radio side is WCLN. I have to explain that to people. They ask me, how can you be on the TV? You're now on the radio too. I said it's simulcast on the radio. The show is actually done from Star Communications Channel 16, and we're glad that all of these people are involved in helping us get this information out. Sampson Weekly newspaper also posts a summation. We're talking with Chris Sessoms and Tony Rackley, both two successful business people here, decided to come together with a team of other people to recognize emergency responders. My congratulations to you for doing it, for the team you've brought together to make it happen. Let's talk about something that we went off air, Tony, talking about, and you just segued it to Chris, donations. It takes a lot of money to get this thing going. So how can people donate? They can bake a cake, we got that, but say you bake a cake or you go buy a cake or whatever, but you get that cake and you say, well, I'm going to throw another $10 in. Can they do that with a check? Can they do it online? Let's talk about that.
Okay, we tried to change it a little this year. So you can make a donation. The Substance Abuse Coalition is allowing us to use their 501c because we have 3 of those people presently on our committee. So if you will make the check out to them and mail it to P.O. Box 475 in Clinton, our treasurer will pick it up and send you back a receipt so that you have a receipt for taxes. One of the ideas we want people to realize is that it costs us $10 to sponsor a first responder. So even a $10 check is huge to us. Or if they can do sponsor 3 or more, they can actually get a yard sign to put in their yard that says they are a sponsor of this event. If you have 20 that come together for $10, you can have a banner printed, whether your church picture or whatever you want on it, and hang it outside of your church that you are sponsoring this event.
So of that 180-something churches, if you had about 90% of them with banners out front, you would be having a good day.
We would be easy sailing and not worried.
Well, I mean, it seems relatively reasonable, you know, for $50 that you could end up with a banner out front. I mean, that's kind of, Tony, am I missing something here? That's kind of a no-brainer, isn't it?
Well, it shows support.
Yeah.
It just shows more support. And most of our churches have first responders in them. And so it's just showing them that we do care about them. So, you know, let's as I love that it's helping hands. You know, it does not, you can, if you've helped someone for 10 minutes, you've helped someone. And sometimes that 10 minutes is so important just to sustain life, as a first responder does. If they're cutting somebody out of a car, or they're pulling them out of a burning house, or whatever they're doing, it's just so important that we as individuals give back and help.
So I guess when I'm listening to you guys, I'm thinking it sounds like you're saying that the community of Sampson County is coming together, and the community wants to say to the emergency responders, we know you're there, we appreciate what you do, this is a small token of what you're sacrificing. And the big thing is, I think, Tony, you referred to this a while ago, is what you're giving up to serve us, what you're doing. And Tony, I think you said it was like they're out at night, sometimes 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, or something happens. That's pretty huge.
Yeah.
I guess my thoughts are, you know, can I give up, well, for me personally more, but can I give up 6 hours of my time when they give up 12 hours of their time? If
And a
my
large
house
portion
is
of
on
their
fire.
life, because this is their career.
Yes.
We're talking 30, 40 years they're doing this. I don't know how you measure that. I don't know how they sit down and look at it and go, maybe at some point in time they look back and go, wow, look how much I've contributed to the community. I mean, it's not that they would ever do that, but somebody now has recognized that.
Well, you know, we all have a lot of different jobs, and it's all good that we have different talents and abilities. But when I think of first responders, I think about the emotional state that they go through. Like I said, you know, a wreck, and you've got a family that's involved, and sometimes you have death associated with that, or your home burning, or your business burning, or just what. You know, we live in an agricultural county, and we all know there's all kinds of different things that go on in this county that sometimes there's bodily harm, and these people come. And they save life, they save limb. So it's just so important that we have a network of people here that care about that and do that. They chose that position to be a firefighter, a highway patrolman, a sheriff, a policeman, a dog catcher, a 911, telecommunicator, whatever. We're just so thankful and blessed that we have people in this county that care.
Yeah, and all of those firemen that are volunteers in the county.
Yes.
Tony, I'm always, when I was with the college, I was always amazed that they were willing to do that. Plus, they went to all the training.
That's what I'm saying.
And completed all the training.
Yeah. I guarantee you.
No charge, no money, nobody paid them.
They're spending money out of their pocket.
Have to.
Yeah.
Have to. If it's nothing, just going to the classes. It's literally unbelievable. So when we think about that and we think about giving back, what are the things that we're missing as we're going through this? We know it's going to be on the 25th. We know it's going to be, Tony, as I think you pointed out, the times from 5 to 9. And Chris, you said that was for shift change. So, for example, there's a change and shift there, they could leave work and meet their family over there, go by and pick their family up and come. Is that what
Right. The family can come beforehand. They'll all have tickets to get in.
Yeah.
If they want to come before and the father or mother meet them later, that's fine. It is a 4-hour window for these families, whenever they want to come and whatever they want to do.
And it's no charge to them or their family
No charge.
on that 25th event. That's if they've got 3 children or 5 children or whatever.
that is correct.
Their family.
Yeah, they will get so many tickets and so forth for their children to ride the rides and all. So it's very well planned. It's a very well oiled machine, and it's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good day.
When you look at that and you look from where you're sitting and you think about the folks around you in the committee, are you hearing back from the emergency services community like you want to? Are you hearing from people to say, yeah, we've got 5 people or we got 10 people showing up? Are you getting that information in now, or do you need to hear more?
No, I'm not getting that now. We've sent letters out to department heads telling them to get back with us by a certain date on who is attending. Another statement I want to make, because this was asked last time a lot, if there's money left over, what do you do with it?
Yeah.
And it remains in an account in case we have a first responder that is hurt in the line of duty, that we can help that family. In fact, recently we had one whose home was burnt, and the committee will be giving them a check to help that family, whether it's condiments to their kitchen or whatever. But the money is for only the first responders, and we protect that money for that.
Do you guys see this as something that you want to brand and as an annual event, or are you just testing it this one time to see how it goes, or are you looking at maybe something to be kind of an expectation?
Well, you know, when Chris introduced me to this, you know, she said it's on a 5-year basis. It is a huge undertaking when you go from 800 people and then you invite their family members and it goes to 2,600. And you know, we also don't want to tax our county and the businesses, the corporations, the individuals, that lady that's going to bake that cake. Because we all, growing up here, I'm 63 years old, I can tell you I'm glad that I'm a Sampsonian. The people in this county are great, and through my lifetime, I have seen so many individuals, corporations, companies, people just pitch in, and I got to experience that in a sad situation with my business burning. But I'm telling you, I am so thankful for the people in this county and all of these first responders and people just in general. We live in a great county. It's a loving county.
The most giving people in the world live in Sampson.
Absolutely.
Yes, I am thankful that I'm a Sampsonian.
So Chris, let's kind of do a quick wrap up. Again, we're talking about the 25th. We're talking about emergency responders. Bring the family, enjoy it. Tony, you pointed out something that reminded me to say as well. We might want to remind folks that we understand that these emergency situations is going to continue to occur while this event's happening. So as you're trying to recognize them, some of those folks may not be able to make it because they may be on, heaven forbid, but maybe they'll be safe, but they'll be on calls.
Right.
So when that happens, you want folks to, if they want to pick up the phone and call you, they can. If they're an emergency responder, if they're a sergeant with the police department or sheriff's department, they're not really sure and they hadn't heard anything, they can just call you and say, hey, I'm so and so, and I want to find out what's going on. 592-1337.
Correct.
That's to your business. Tony, you want to give them a number to call you?
Yes, if you want to help in some aspect, my cell number is 910-590-4132.
4132.
Yes.
Okay, as we check off these boxes here, we've talked about donations, we've talked about cost of the event, we've talked about the next day. It'll be open to the general public, $10 a head to get in, but they get the everything from the carnival to the county fair treatment, and it'll be at Hub's Corn Maze. That's on 421 North. It's not here in Clinton. It's on 421 North, near the old Herring School on the right. That's the location. Anything else we need to touch on, because we've got about 30 seconds here?
No, I would like to personally say I appreciate what you do with this also. In Star Communications, it's to me, this is a great thing that that you started, and it has great publicity to it, and I want to thank you for what you do also.
Well, it couldn't happen without folks like you telling me what they think and telling me what they want to hear about. So that's the reason you're here. I want to thank both of you for taking time from your business, where you make money to make a living, to do this show. And not only that, but to reach out and go beyond expectation and recognize other people that's risking their lives and their time away from their family. Thank you for being with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been talking about emergency response. I hope you pick up the phone, call Tony or Chris, get involved in this event. You will be appreciated if you're doing it. And we look forward to seeing you again next week, and may God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host J.W. Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.